The hour of 7:30 having arrived, the Water Quality Management Committee December 4th meeting will come to order. First item on the agenda is follow-up discussion on the Wild Harbor watershed, which we have a handout from last time, which everybody brought.
Yep.
This one and this one here, yeah. Is that right?
Very good.
Yeah.
This is the PowerPoint from last week that I'm just pulling up, so.
Can't hardly see that.
It is hard to see. I have
Is
to
it?
wear lights.
What did we do last time?
Maybe turn off this one?
Is it focused?
It wasn't all dark.
No.
It is focused.
Maybe.
It seems like it's gonna be really
I-
dark if I do that.
Yeah.
Turn off the other light?
Oh, somehow the projector light is
Not as bright.
not as bright.
All right. Well, you got your handouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I can see
so
them.
we're looking at Wild Harbor and the,
We're looking at Wild Harbor, and I'll just remind everybody what the, well, that you guys can see your handouts.
Yeah.
You can
Okay.
see this. I think the 4 main points that I have from my notes are looking at, the question was raised, is there a potential site for a permeable reactive barrier? If you were gonna do it, where would you put it? And the answer is the street called Arlington Street, which if you look on your second handout of the watershed and you look at where I drew the polygon that shows where the sewer area is, Arlington Street is the street that runs.
it's the
To the east.
easternmost boundary
It's
that runs north-south.
It's the north-south bound, that's Arlington Street.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And if you were gonna put a PRV in, the best place to put it would be there. It would be about 2,000 feet, which is pretty darn long, but it would capture over 220 homes, as well as all the other watershed loads. So that's the interesting thing about PRVs, it gets all the, anything that's gone on the surface and gets into the groundwater gets captured. So that's a very preliminary, but that would be the only place that I could see where you'd make some sense. And John Waterbury had also mentioned that you could put one at the outfall pipe that we talked about last time that goes right into the inner harbor. But then we sort of thought, well, there's already a pretty well-functioning salt marsh there, so you want to do some tests to see what kind of nitrogen load you're actually talking about. So other thoughts on PRBs?
Question? The 2,000 feet, is that just the boundary of the, it extends all the way to Wild Harbor Road?
Yeah.
Okay,
That would
so,
be if you wanted to intersect the entire plume in that Wild Harbor
area,
watershed.
watershed.
Where's
Okay.
Wild Harbor Road then?
Wild Harbor Road
Oh, you're
is
looking
to
at-
the
Here,
north,
look at this one.
and
Look at your street.
it's the east-west road that you see.
This kind
I
of-
What
I
about
see
along
this,
the
yes.
waterfront?
I see this, but
You wouldn't capture,
You
well,
wouldn't-
I don't see Wild
But you
Harbor.
wouldn't capture much more because the sewer area
exactly.
is
Right,
already
but-
captured.
You might catch as much with a shorter distance. Unless there's a technical reason you don't want to be too close to the waterfront.
Well, there is a technical reason you don't want to be too close to the water, and that has to do with saltwater
Right.
intrusion,
Kind of like
which is something
Yes.
you very much want to avoid.
Goes
And
well.
when you have big tidal influence
Arlington
with
Street's the one
permeable
she's talking about.
I
barriers,
know she is. It goes over
it
Wild
kind
Harbor.
Oh, yeah,
of
yes.
negatively affects the hydrology.
It's part of that.
Yeah.
So you want to be out
This is
of
about-
the zone
yeah,
of tidal
okay.
influence, in the subterranean zone. So, tides are influencing, Virginia's nodding her head. So you really want your barrier to be far enough back so you're not being inundated even in a below ground way.
Can I ask another?
How deep would it be there? Do you have any idea? Or?
No idea.
Has anybody done any back-of-the-envelope calculations of the dollars per kilogram of nitrogen removed by our PFE there compared to some of the other standardized things?
I haven't, but it wouldn't be hard to do. I didn't get that far.
But at this point, we really don't know how much a PRV actually costs because
Right.
for a lot of reasons.
And we haven't settled on a particular technology. Everybody knows sort of about trenching, and they have a mental concept of the injection wells, but those were these sort of cylinders that were put. But there are additional ways of installing barriers subsurface that are not actually trenching. So until we get a better handle on technologies, we would, just be guessing.
But we could calculate the cost of the other more standard ways of doing it, such as advanced IAs.
Yes, or
To have in the back of our mind
sewerings.
while doing the other, then if somebody was working
Yeah.
on the PRB, they say, well, there's no way we're gonna get the cost down by a factor of 10 or
Right.
something.
Good point.
Right.
Right.
Okay, that was one.
And,
Okay, number 2 was benthic flux,
okay,
and the question of how can you have a negative TMDL? And if you look at the, let's see what number slide there, 1, 2, 3, 4, your 5th slide that had the MEP estimates of nitrogen reduction. And if you go into your report, probably the easiest thing is to look at the report, because then we're all looking at the same thing. Page number, executive summary, page 10, so right in the beginning, first page 10. The way the MEP calculates the total maximum daily load is it by scientific inquiry and field work and experiments determines a number of the different loads going into the watershed. And one of those loads is the benthic load. And in some estuaries where you have muck and an anoxic bottom, you will have a net supply of nitrogen going into the estuary from the benthos. And in other places, like Wild Harbor, you will have you'll have aerobic or oxic environment, which means you get denitrification. So the benthos is actually taking nitrogen out of the water column. The bacteria are denitrifying it, and it's getting removed as nitrogen gas. And in this particular system, what they found, what SMAS found, is there's a net removal of nitrogen from the benthos. And that's in this table, executive summary 1, and it's the 5th column, and it's it's the 4th column where it says benthic flux net, and it's a negative number. You don't often see this. You don't see it on the South Coast. Eric just fell over.
Don't worry.
And so,
And that's
because
a good
it's a
thing.
healthy bottom.
because it's a
Fairly.
sandy,
Yeah.
aerobic bottom.
Yeah.
Right. And so what the model then does is it says, what's this total load going in presently? And what's the concentration of nitrogen in the water? And that's this table where it says you've got all these sources, and the present total load from this page, not 10, whatever it is, page 10, is 0.002 kilograms a day. So almost no kilograms a day. But that, net small number doesn't get you the water quality nitrogen concentration that would be indicative of a truly healthy system. It's sort of at its threshold. And so what they've said is you need to remove more than what is being removed. And that's where from this other table you get the TMDL of minus 4.6. So instead of having a present load of 0.002, they want the present load to be even more negative, which just means, in very simple terms, you have to remove more nitrogen from the system. They want to see more. Even though it's a negative number, it's less negative.
Suppose it was 0 though.
rather than minus 4.
Suppose the TMDL for some estuary was 0.
It wouldn't,
There was no net nitrogen going into it.
okay, then it wouldn't be impaired.
Right.
We wouldn't
So
be
then
talking
why do
about
you
it.
need to go negative?
Because of the arithmetic when you include a negative number for benthic flux. They didn't try to resolve that to be positive. That's how they present the information. But I think in terms of an absolute value, the absolute value, as we see from the calculations, is about 2,000 kilograms a year. And that was from the,
We'll have to continue talking about it offline. But it seems, if the definition was the way you and I agreed before, that the TMDL is the allowed load of all kinds, including the algebraic sum, the controllable and uncontrollable and benthic. If that's zero, it's hard for me to understand why you
why are
need
we
to
talking
go
about
in.
it?
Yeah,
Let me ask an
Well,
arithmetic
yeah,
question.
Matt
Oh,
actually
Matt had a
got
first
ahead
one,
of
yeah,
that.
okay.
Yeah, it's just, is it true that the muck is from years of nitrogen overloading and the creation of the
well, algae blooming
algae
and dying.
blooming and dying and stuff, so that's really caused by nitrogen loading?
A legacy?
A legacy, yeah,
Mhm.
and, yeah. I guess so.
So I just want to remind the committee that the gentleman from Wellfleet talked about the oyster reefs that they put in. And eventually, he said, I don't know if you remember this, but after 3 or 4 years, that muck disappeared.
Right.
That disappeared.
Mhm.
So I just...
What happened to the benthic flux? Did they measure anything about that?
They're not measuring.
They're not doing much measuring.
No, they solved all their nitrogen loading problems with the oyster reefs.
They think they
They
did.
didn't
yeah.
have to do anything.
At least that's their story and they're sticking to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's
Okay, Wayne?
I was just doing a little arithmetic. It looks, would it be correct to say that more or less, if you took the benthic flux and you subtracted the TMDL from it, that you would get the figure of the TMDL which you could put in there? It actually has come to 5565, which is target threshold watershed load plus direct atmospheric deposition, more or
Yes.
less.
Yes,
That's what you would get,
That's-
more or less.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
but I think the important numbers that I have come to understand from the MEP reports are the present watershed load and the target threshold load. And the present watershed load is empirically derived by the work that the MEP folks do. And the target threshold load is what the model presents after you put in a bunch of inputs on water concentration. And so it's really the difference between what's going in now and what the model says the target ought to be for a healthy system.
Mhm.
Those are the two numbers to care about. The rest of it is kind of academic, frankly.
This gets us back to a couple of thoughts we had a long time ago. One was the desirability of taking the muck out by dredging or something, which would take care of the benthic issue for the moment. But the other half of that equation was, as long as more nitrogen's coming in than the system can absorb, you're gonna just it'll be back.
Yep.
So unless you do something about the source, you're not going to solve a problem for very long.
but in this case, you want to leave well enough alone with the benthic litter, right? Because it's
Yes.
doing the good
It's
thing.
fine.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
It's more than fine.
Yeah.
It's part of the solution.
Right.
Exactly.
There's no muck to remove.
Right.
Yeah.
One up to remove.
Right.
Alright, so that was number 2. Number 3 was the golf course contribution and what it really was versus what the MEP says it is. And I didn't obviously have time to read, that would be a very important next step. If the committee if you start going down the road of doing a comprehensive plan, the first thing you'd want to do is validate some of the load numbers that are in the MEP report. There's that rainbow spreadsheet that you can see if you have it on your computer screen, but it's, a table that shows all the different loads. And that fertilizer load was enormous. It was 1,000 kilograms, as you may recall, or something
Right.
in that order. So you'd want to confirm that to see if that was really there. And if they'd made some improvements since the time the authors talked to them, you get more specific data. You'd want to look at that, so that it's there. I didn't get to the bottom of it. And number 4 was just a question of when the sewer came online. And
Right. When it came online and how long it'll take for what's in the ground already to dissipate and
yeah, and that would be a very important next step. And Wim
Yeah.
pointed out clearly that when you read the MEP report, they didn't include the sewer as reducing current load. So that these current load numbers don't include any reduction
Oh,
from the sewer.
They, I think if you read it carefully, they did not include the 230 houses in the load.
They did.
I don't think they
You
did.
don't think they
I don't
included
think
those
they did.
houses in the load either?
Logically speaking, I don't think. If you read it very carefully, that's what I would like to determine.
Double check them, and it might just ask Ed Eichner.
Yeah, that'd be an
Yeah.
easy.
That would be an easy, just initially.
Right.
Yeah, I'd like to ask that
And-
question.
Yeah,
Good question.
ask that
I
question.
did a little arithmetic and I discovered that if you assume that they were not included, and you assume that their water that the water they used per house was less than the average water for the area, and you multiply the water that was used minus that amount, then you would get the right answer that they got for the load. So I think that maybe they did leave it out.
I see.
I don't
Okay,
know.
so that's your, okay, so a direct question would,
Did they include
Help.
sewer parcel numbers in
Yeah.
current load?
right.
And the numbers that the plant is actually receiving, as opposed to the numbers they thought they would be receiving, it's a big difference we're finding.
Yes, yes.
Is it fair to do the following? If you go on page 25, not executive summary page, but real page 25 of the report, there's the map of the watershed.
25? Oh, wait, no, it's wrong one.
Wild Harbor.
Yeah, I don't have the Wild Harbor.
Map of the watershed, and,
And the irregular lines across the different watersheds are the 10-year mark, right?
yes, 10-year travel time.
So you can sort of see his map up next to it, or maybe you just know intuitively, if you know that area, where the sewer shed area is. You can sort of eyeball it and see that it's clear that the answer to Eric's question of how many years before you no longer, all the previously injected nitrogen from the sewer shed area has been removed.
Well, a foot a day is the theory.
I'm not sure I'd agree with your statement,
No.
if I understand it. So the
Well, I
10,
mean, it's downstream of the 10-year mark,
right,
so it's less than 10 years.
that's true. That's absolutely true.
And roughly, it's proportional to the distance.
Presumably, this is where we get into conjecture. To some degree, it appears that the aquifer speeds up a bit as it just gets to its final destination of the saltwater freshwater interface. This is so close to salt water now that the nitrogen may get there in a year or two. So I'm not sure it's proportional, but it's certainly, you're absolutely right, it's less than 10 years and it's probably less than 5 years. There are then some other nuances to that. These houses were built sort of in marshy land, and that's one of the reasons they were having trouble. And so there's peat in marshy land. Well, that tends to hold things longer. And it will also tend to slow down the groundwater because it's a denser material. So you begin to get into really site-specific questions as to what it will actually be to clear out. So you still have on your to-do list the date on which the plant went online.
The date that the last
House was hooked up.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing probably that's as significant is what load did the sewer actually remove relative to what needs to get removed to show a difference?
Right.
Because as we've talked about with these MEP reports, the standard error on the numbers is 10, 20% in some
Right.
cases. And so if you're removing, what the MEP says is that it's about 200 kilograms. But if you need to remove 2,000 kilograms to see a difference, then that 10% is not,
Yeah.
even if, it's not,
Gonna
you're
show
not
it.
gonna see something necessarily. I mean, it's not obvious that you,
When they say 200 kilograms, where do you get that number?
from the MEP report, they estimated 230 kilograms is what that sewer system would remove.
The sewer system itself would remove 230 kilograms.
Right, that's what the load reduction was from that new Silver Beach sewer.
Okay.
And that's in the report.
Yeah.
1 kilogram per house per year.
Yeah, some of the houses are seasonal.
In-shed disposal,
Yes,
the disposal is in the watershed.
right, so you, yeah,
So there's,
okay.
and they assumed 10 milligrams per liter for that. So it's not it's more complicated than just that,
Yeah,
but
The
it can
volume,
be done.
the volume of wastewater from the houses is small compared to the groundwater that starts up at the head of the watershed.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
That too.
Yep.
So if you can neglect that, then to the extent they get wider, unless the depth is also changing, you can figure out, because the flow across any cross-sectional area
Mhm.
has to be the same. Just like the cars on I-95, when you come to a toll booth, you have to have a lot more lane.
Mhm.
So that's,
Unfortunately, the depth also
yeah.
does get bigger, and that's because of rainfall coming in.
These are
Oh,
complicated
oh,
systems.
the local
Yeah.
rain.
The local rainfall,
Okay.
yeah, the recharge.
Well, from our site visit today, I think we were all very impressed with, actually, the health of the Wild Harbor River area. And
As seen in November, well,
well,
December.
it was loaded with oysters.
Oh, really? Oh, well, now there's a good indicator.
Yes, and you know what was really loaded with oysters? Is the
Fiddler's Cove.
Fiddler's Cove, the canal that they dug in north of Fiddler's Cove.
I'll be there.
Loaded.
It was
No.
crazy, yeah.
Because
Wow.
one of these guys with the grants has
Yes.
his upweller in that water body.
I see.
And he's producing little babies.
Little
and
seed that
they're
moves out.
moving in and having, and producing.
Finding this great substrate to land on and riprap.
Excellent. Wow, that's great.
But it did look like you could enhance that reef sort of environment that's naturally developing and probably get 1 million oysters and fiddlers. I mean, just
Yes.
me eyeballing it based on what I've seen in other places, and if you did something like that, that'd be a lot of kilograms. It'd be
I think
280.
they just put it off limits for a number of years in Wellfleet, right? They didn't let harvesting
I know
happen.
take some,
I know it takes some.
yep,
And those, but they also put down the mulch or whatever.
they do a lot of culture, yep.
The
But it's
substrate.
a sandier, it sounds like you have rock, more of a,
they already had reefs
Oh,
there,
right,
didn't they?
yeah.
yeah, regret.
They already had the old reefs were there, they're just putting culch there to, if I understand correctly. There were reefs there before.
Yeah, but I don't think they could see them. I think they had to add a lot of culch to put some kind of substrate there so that the oysters could attach.
To start with, yeah,
Everything else was buried in the muck.
okay.
Okay. Anything further on
Just my follow-up.
this watershed, Wild Harbor system? Okay.
Well, if there are no further questions, there's still a few things outstanding which you're going to track down. Will you then generate for Wild Harbor Watershed the same kind of summary that you generated for Rand's Canal and Fiddler's Cove?
Yes.
And
Which, once we have, that's still sort of a draft.
this is still in draft? Okay.
Yeah, I thought.
We haven't seen that.
No,
Right.
right. And I thought the right thing to do would be sort of have a internal
Couple
discussion,
of them.
a review of it, and then a group review.
This goes to the comment that I made at the last meeting, that as we move through these watersheds and assemble what we think is useful information, useful observations, like the oysters that I just heard, that we ought to memorialize it in a document, a summary document, that we can then pick up and use as our springboard when we start meeting with the communities, rather than go all the way back to the original documents and read them over again and so on. So I'm trying to make sure that information and questions that seem pertinent that have come to the surface don't get lost.
Good. For those who missed the tour today, we have a few observations. That whole area that we just talked about, it's rip-wrapped on all sides for the most part. But there's plenty of places right next to the riprap where oysters could be grown without interfering with the boating at all, because most of the boats are on floating docks away from the riprap. So there's a sort of a zone where the boaters wouldn't mind, and the shellfish would be quite happy, because they already are quite happy.
Are they more in the fresher areas? Freshwater
Yeah,
areas?
yeah.
Yeah,
that-
yeah.
Which they usually
But
are.
the further
Yeah.
you get away from the harbor entrance,
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
the more you saw.
And you can see them, they're
So-
growing nicely.
So,
Yeah.
do we pursue this? Do we talk about this when we come to making recommendations for this area?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, if you could put them in the quantities that you spoke of, they'd make a difference.
Yeah, I would say that the next thing, the Division of Marine and Environmental Services is sort of taking over the operations of some of these shellfish. They're talking about doing a reef project in West Falmouth Harbor for next summer, putting in like almost a half an acre, maybe even an acre's worth. I mean, starting out small. There's a philosophy with NatWeeks, which I think is a really sound approach, which is you start small. So you start small, you watch what happens, you build slowly. So maybe start with a half an acre in West Falmouth. And he and Ron and I had actually gone in the spring up through Fiddlers and Rands, and there was some discussion, but today's low tide was really very, very visible. I mean, it was extremely low tide, so it made it very easy to see stuff. I would talk to Matt about doing some maybe targeted work to see what could be done, and what practically could you see this stuff, what would it take? I wanted to take a look at it, and then maybe think.
It might be as simple as just making it a no-take area for several
Years.
years,
Okay.
like they did in Walton.
Yep, with
I
natural
don't know if it's
stuff.
no-take now. Is it closed to shellfish?
It's Wild Harbor River is permanently closed.
That's because of the white.
That's because of the spill.
The oil spill, isn't
But
it?
Fiddler's Cove, I don't think had any oil spill issues. So.
No.
I don't think so either.
Was Fiddler's
I
Cove
don't
not
think there's
affected
a
by
lot of
that?
harbor.
I don't know, but I don't think
The
so.
oysters
No, I don't think so either. No.
But they don't, that's good that it's closed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, before we leave this water body, let's thank the folks at Fiddler's Cove, Brewers Fiddler's Cove, for taking some of us out there today and doing the water tour. You would have enjoyed it. We had some adventures, but we learned a lot, and particularly about how well the oysters are doing all by themselves
Yeah.
in these water bodies.
Good, that's great.
I have one other question. Didn't we mention that there was quite a bit of runoff from the Fiddler's Cove Marina itself? Was that looked at or mentioned at
It
all?
was.
The parking lot?
It was looked at, yes.
Oh.
One of the first features that was pointed out today was a bioswale, vegetated buffer along the entire
Excellent.
area that looks terrific and functions to capture that stormwater runoff and uptake it. I mean, clearly, we wouldn't get credit from DEP unless we did the monitoring of it, but the intent was to capture the runoff.
There is also a vegetated buffer all around the canal that goes to the north of it. I was surprised. It's got the riprap, but it has a vegetated buffer between the lawns
Yeah, it really does.
and the water bodies.
About 20 feet wide, it looked like it
Yeah,
was, something
yeah.
like that,
So
yeah.
somebody was thinking,
Well, that was a huge argument. I don't know if you remember that, that whole debate.
Was it? When was that?
Zoning Board of Appeals or the Planning Board or the Concom, I can't remember. It was years ago.
Oh.
about
They wouldn't let them put lawns down to the beach?
I just remember the Fiddler's Cove area being a really big issue because of things like that.
Well,
Good.
it seems to have worked.
Well, good.
So the Concom probably required that.
Required it.
All right, next item on the agenda is the Quistit MEP report and potential alternatives there. We have a handout everyone has received this
You
evening.
probably want to see this for our TV viewing nights.
Yes.
I'm gonna shut at least one light up.
Yeah. Some of this will be familiar because we've had a conversation about Quistit before, but this is more detailed. And So let's go through it.
That would be there. I'm just writing a couple of notes for you. Okay, listen. I think we all know Quissit. It's a very familiar place for many of us. Woods Hole Road, Quissit Ave, Quissit Lights, and the harbor, there's the inner harbor and the outer harbor. You can see it on the map. This is the watershed, which is your next map. And I think that sort of a key point is that it goes up as far as Ransom Road. If you think about Woods Hole Road and Ransom Road, that is the little top of the teardrop, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And then Woods Hole Road seems to be, at least for the bottom half of it, a good landmark for where the watershed is. And it goes south from there. But that's the teardrop of the inner and outer harbor watersheds. It's small. These are, the next slide is the sentinel stations, the inner and the outer and the mid harbor. So they basically take water samples right at Quissit Harbor Boatyard, probably off the town dock, and then near the National Academy of Sciences, and then Gansett Harbor, pretty near the golf course. So those are the three monitoring stations. The outer harbor is not impaired.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm now looking at the table. The inner harbor has moderate impairment, and because you take the outer harbor and the inner harbor and you average it, because there's a lot of mixing that goes on, you have a removal that's 21% for the whole system. And that translates by our familiar methodology at this point to a load of 266 kilograms a year, which is a very modest load. It's a small watershed, but it's not a huge.
Does it really make sense, since the main harbor requires 0%, to lump that in with the other one that needs to be treated?
It does make sense, because it mixes. So if you had a level of impairment in the outer harbor and the inner harbor, and it mixes, that system mixes differently from the bay going into the inner harbor. So when that water that's not impaired goes into the inner harbor, which is where the concern is, where the eelgrass is dying.
Are you saying that if you were to take measures which reduce the nitrogen going into the outer harbor, you would get as much effect as if you reduced it in the inner harbor? Or?
You would get the effect that the hydrodynamic model found.
Okay.
So that's what this hydrodynamic, this MEP magic model does, is it takes, you think this is complicated? You should see Pleasant Bay, which has H-terminal ponds, and you change the nitrogen, all of them, and then take, anyway, but it is. So the idea is you have mixing here, and the model tells you the rate of that mixing and the frequency, the issues with the mixing, and if you have a particular concentration in the outer harbor and the inner harbor, what happens when you change one or the other, and that's, whether it's right or wrong, other people have decided. But this is how that's why it makes sense.
Yeah, I see your point, because the water in the outer harbor isn't perfect. It isn't zero nitrogen, it's just acceptable nitrogen.
Right.
So if it was even less, it would affect the upper one.
Precisely.
However, I still think it's potentially deceiving to people, because presumably, if you had other things being equal, some particular way of removing nitrogen you were considering, you should apply it in the inner watershed.
Without question.
Sure.
Sure.
Without
Sure.
question.
Yeah.
And there you have to do 38%.
Right. At least they're
The
all,
the
even all
21%
the
is is funny money.
If you
Yeah.
did it on the outside, half the
Yeah.
game you go out.
Right.
I mean, why not include all of Buzzards Bay,
Right.
which is 0, and
Right,
then
yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's why I like kilograms and not percents
Yes,
myself.
Right.
yes.
Yes,
Yes,
stick
I do
stick
too.
to the.
I stick to, I do kilogram now, this
Stick to
it.
percentage business, I
Yeah.
don't think is as,
No.
you can't implement as well using percentages as with the kilograms, so.
Right, right.
I say 266 kilograms.
Okay.
Where are the inputs coming from? You have a black and white version, that 84% is obviously wastewater.
Uh-huh.
5% is from, the golf course,
Oh,
This is the local controlled load.
yes.
Okay, so that's the golf course, all right?
5% was the golf course, 3 is fertilizer that's not the golf course,
Fertilizer.
and 8% was impervious surfaces. And I did a little more analysis that I'm gonna get to in this next slide on the traditional and non-traditional alternatives. Let's hold build out for a second and talk
Yeah.
about the load and the assumptions that the MEP were made. The golf course, they assume, is contributing 32 kilograms of nitrogen of that 266. And from our field work with Woods Hole Golf Course as part of the fertilizer bylaw, I think we found that they're doing, there's probably not that much because of how careful they are about their nitrogen applications. So I think we'd want to look at that more closely at a deeper, if we were taking the next step to really try to write a targeted watershed plan for Quistit, we'd want to take some credit for that.
And plus, a lot of it is heading out for the bay. This is just, look where the golf course is.
Yes, Gansett.
See, I have a question, you're looking, yeah, I have a question about these bullets to make sure we're not confusing anyone.
Okay,
The shellfish aquaculture, the 84 kilograms is presumably an amount you would remove,
yes.
otherwise. we wouldn't
Right,
need
and
stuff.
so let me.
But
let me
the
talk-
golf course, the 32 kilograms, is that a proposed saving, or is that an assumption about what's going in now?
That's the assumption of what's going in now.
Yeah, I think that's bad to have those like equal bullets.
Oh, I see, you're mixing.
Without, you're
Okay.
mixing an addition
You're
and a
right,
subtraction,
You're right, you're right.
Sure,
and I haven't even looked at the other ones.
right. So the fertilizer nitrogen, I was kind of just making notes here to
So,
talk through them.
so these are MEP estimates
Yes,
that you've quantified.
yes.
Yeah. Why don't you keep going?
I'm gonna keep
And-
going. So
and then we'll-
fertilizer nitrogen control, the MEP assumes 67 kilograms is going in from the fertilizer that's not a golf course in the Quistit watershed.
Right.
We have a bylaw that we have already calculated. We have shown we could earn that 25% credit from our bylaw. So that would be 17 kilograms. That's what, these were sort of notes for me to tell you.
Right.
That our bylaw should get us 17 kilograms of nitrogen of the MEP load.
Okay, so
The golf course, the MEP assumes 32 kilograms. I didn't have a number that I could share with what I think that could be reduced by, but I think it would be the next place to look and to say, okay, how much of that 32 that's in the MEP report do we think we could take credit for? Because that's what we're doing kilogram math. Stormwater best management practices, I've been there, and there aren't open drains, but you guys see Quistit as much as I do. That would be, if we could think about a good place to do stormwater remediation, it'd be good to know.
A swale at the boatyard, for example, might help, or at the, where the boatyard. you're
Uh-huh.
talking
Or
about.
just retention basins under the road.
Yeah.
Is the build out, has that been semi-ground truth?
We're gonna do that one
He's
next.
just holding the build up.
Bill, that's the next slide.
The stormwater piece, Mike McGrath and the neighbors there have had a bee in their bonnet about that for a while. I don't know if they actually came up with a plan or a site or anything, but they've been talking about it,
What's that?
About what?
about stormwater management along that road.
Maybe I'll ask Dana. I'll follow up on that. I didn't follow up on it.
Do you have an estimate of a range of what the kilograms of nitrogen you could save with that?
I do. If we go into our Quistit report, there's the rainbow spreadsheet. I'm gonna tell you what the number is once I find it. It's on page. I think it's table 4. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's on page 38. And the impervious surfaces are contributing 94 kilograms a year. And so,
But only 56 of it is in Inner Harbor.
56 of it's in the inner harbor.
And what can you typically say, half of that or all of it, or 10%?
You certainly wouldn't say all of it. The best of the best management practices are getting you 50%.
So you could,
But that means you're capturing all of it. It's the thing
you
about
could
stormwater.
maybe save 28.
But you have no idea if you're collecting it from one spot or 20 spots.
Right.
And whether you have room for swales in
But-
one spot or 20 spots.
And there's not a
You-
lot
you-
of room.
You can't give it a number yet.
No, but what I'm saying is that the fertilizer control, the golf course, the stormwater are small compared to 266.
Mhm.
And incredibly small compared to 500. So it's pretty obvious, the 500 you either find out it's not true,
It's coming,
Or
it's
you-
coming, Steve.
okay,
Give her a
okay.
chance.
I think you're right.
and with it, well, I'll leave out this, I won't speak to the build out, but even if the build out turns out to be 0,
Right.
you're still left with a big chunk you have to deal with. And so our time should be spent with that big chunk, rather than with these little dream projects that kick off 2%.
Chasing stormwater does not give you a lot of bang for your buck. I
Right.
think that's very
Yep,
true.
you know, we said that 2.5 years
Yes,
ago. And it's
right.
very
That's right.
And it's still true.
Still true.
It's still true.
Let me talk about shellfish aquaculture because I think there's a real story here. Those 300,000 oysters are oysters we put in Quissit during this year's relay.
Okay.
That's how many we put in. We actually put in more than 300,000, but just round numbers. A million oysters removes between 260 to 280 kilograms of nitrogen. 1 million oysters.
And you're removing them all from the area that you
And
want to remove them.
They're all in the inner harbor.
Exactly.
So the plan for next summer's monitoring is to look pretty carefully at Quissit Inner Harbor and see, A, are the oysters still alive? And if they are, to look at water clarity, nitrogen at the sentinel stations, maybe some more high fidelity monitoring, denitrification, because there's a ton of, part of the reason we couldn't put more in this year is Matt Weeks and I looked pretty carefully and there's not much more suitable bottom. We also didn't want to put in 500,000 oysters and have them all die. So it was really balancing walking before we run, but it was a very good start. And enough of a start where this is a third of the load. So there might very well be a measurable change in the inner harbor. So we sort of are doing a new demonstration project. And it's part of the continuum of the oysters came out of the pond. We had to relay them. You see that this was a small enough load where the oysters might make a difference. We couldn't put 1 million in because that would have been sort of irresponsible from an implementation perspective. It just would have been too much before we knew what really was going to happen. But we're experimenting now, and we're going to see if this 84 kilograms that comes out, A, they live. Key question number 1. And key question number 2 is, can we see differences in water clarity, et cetera, et cetera. So that's pretty, exciting for next summer. I'm really thrilled about it.
And key question number 3 is they're in a place that can later be harvested?
Yes.
Okay, because just growing, it doesn't remove the nitrogen. It captures it, but it doesn't remove it.
We will have an oyster opening event the way we did at West Falmouth,
Okay.
at Quissit.
So,
But it's in the oyster, it's not polluting the bay.
oh, well, I completely agree, but in
long term, you have
long
to get them out
term,
of
you
there.
have to get them out of there.
Either it
So-
gets to be 100 feet above water level
Right, so there
after
has,
enough years, or
there has to be a removal factor in the picture.
I'm not completely there because.
Otherwise, they
in-
die and return the nitrogen.
Well, I can see what Matt's saying
But
about
they
these
grow-
oyster
they
reefs
get
stay
big.
put, and they presumably keep on
Yeah,
working.
and Wellfleet, they have those no-take areas. And I guess they are opening them up
you know.
this year or this coming summer, but the oysters can get big. They can live a long time before they're not just going to die like
How long is long?
years. I mean, many years, many years.
5
And
years?
in, and
5
in the
years?
interim, your reef continues
Because to grow.
to grow and
Okay,
grow. And
yeah,
they
I'm willing to
put
take a
out
long
rays.
horizon, but
It's worth
Ultimately,
looking
there
at
is
that
an
Wellfleet
endpoint.
project, I think, again. That's,
Maybe there's something complicated biological going on like the benthic, like
well, yeah.
some corollary of the oysters that they promote, there's this filtering that isn't really nitrogen removal, but it's a good thing.
John mentioned
And I don't
that.
claim
They're
to know
eating
what
the
it is.
chlorophyll. They're eating the chlorophyll.
they're eating the
that-
chlorophyll, which
that
is fed on
feeds
the
off
nitrogen.
Right.
So the
Right, I
nitrogen
mean-
is in the chlorophyll, and then the chlorophyll becomes the tissue of the oyster or the shell of the oyster.
John's point this afternoon was,
Yeah.
if this clarification is going on, even if it isn't taking away the nitrogen, it's making the water clear so the light can get down there and
Which might,
which
Right,
might get you where you want to go.
that's
Right.
right, that's true.
That something complicated like that is how Matt could be right. But if you simply look at simple mass balance, then Virginia and I are right. I mean,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
not
well-
doing alchemy. You're not
Well,
Yeah.
turning nitrogen magically
To our knowledge.
nothing.
Right.
Well, the
Yeah, we jump right
denitrification,
in.
No, I was going to say the same thing you did. If Ron were here, he would point to the fact that the pseudo-feces that falls down has a denitrifying effect on the whole system, too.
He
would
that's
claim that.
still somewhat unproven.
Yeah, but
the,
He would say
somewhere
that.
in the mix,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
the Wellfleet project, and I hope that this doesn't elude me again, but he claimed that even if there is a die-off of the oyster reef, of the oysters on the reef, the nitrogen removal still occurs in that reef because there's so many other microorganisms living in that reef that continue to use up the
the
chlorophyll or
fish
whatever
come
it is.
in, fish come in, they
Yeah.
use stuff.
It's a whole community. It's a very complex community, and it continues to remove nitrogen.
I think those are all potentials that need to be checked out further. He's very enthusiastic about his project, but he's a little short on measuring. So just a word of caution. That's all.
Although the amount of nitrogen has been measured and it's decreased. I mean,
The water quality.
In
The
water.
The other thing that they're doing is they've got 35 or something acres of reef in Wellfleet.
Wow.
And the no-take zone is less than 7 acres. So most of what's happening in Wellfleet
His game.
is farming.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people managing grants. And those no-take zones are really there to produce the seed to foster the rest of the 35 acres,
Right.
29 acres, whatever it is. So it's really a synergy that
Right.
they're creating in Wellfleet, where these no-take zones are really promoting a much bigger industry that grows oysters and harvests them. So that's really part of what's going on overall in the water quality. But they have seen localized effects, and we even in Falmouth with Little Pond saw a localized water clarity, at least last year. We're going to find out what we saw this year.
Right.
But I think the take home at this point is next year we're going to see if a larger quantity of bigger oysters, because these are the ones that are going to get to be 3 inches or more, if we see some noticeable benefits. Larger relative uptake,
Right. Good.
So, and then there's also, and I know IAs and eco toilets in the Quistit area, a lot of the homes on the water have put in IA systems.
Really?
Yeah,
Already.
Did the MEP report reflect any of that?
no.
Okay, well, that's a factor.
So we
When
would
did
we would have to document it.
When did they put them in, do you know? On the Quistit-
You can go to the Alternative Pest Center site,
Right, yeah,
and all the places are
yeah.
What,
'Cause
is it a significant fraction?
the MEP
half a
report,
dozen.
the MEP report said that at the time that they did the study, that there were 141 houses in Quistit, 141 parcels, and that 2 of them had IA systems, one of which they had measured and took into account, the other they didn't.
They didn't.
They didn't.
And
So
there's
even if
3
it
more.
was 6, you're not gonna
Yeah,
see much
it's,
of an
it's
effect.
not
Not
a
a
big
lot,
effect,
no.
No,
Okay.
it's not big.
at least not yet.
All right, so build out.
Okay.
Okay, build that.
Build out, this map shows the developable and developed with development potential parcels in Quissett. It's a small watershed, so it's easy. The biggest one is the Wheeler property. The Wheeler property is between Woods Hole Road and Quissett Ave, and it's 35 acres. And it's
Oh.
undeveloped. And it doesn't have a conservation restriction on it. But the thing that the MEP did not take into account is Falmouth has a bylaw that if you develop, if you do a subdivision with more than 5 lots, you have to put a 12 milligram per liter cluster system
They-
in. So,
They didn't count the golf course as developable, so
no,
legally it is.
it wouldn't.
Easy to say.
It's also in the lower watershed.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Another thing that we need to make sure is a tool in our toolbox. You've just said we have a subdivision bylaw that says if you have more than 5 lots, you must have a treatment system that brings you down to 12 milligrams per liter. But I believe if you have more than, and I can't remember whether it's 20 acres or 30 acres.
20,000 gallons.
No, for the Cape Cod Commission.
30,
I-
30 acres.
It's 30 acres, okay, so this would qualify. So
For
it's not only a DRI, but you must set aside a third of the property as undeveloped.
For the
So we need to track that down, and that's come up with this 31 acre parcel
That's right.
on Route
That's
151.
right, all that would kick in here.
So that would kick in, so it's 35 acres, but only 2/3 of it can be developed, the other third has to be put into conservation. So we need to sort of, again, have that in writing, that these are 2 other ways that land use controls that are existing tools.
Do they have a zoning in there, of 1 acre or 2 acres or anything like that?
It's 2 acre zoning.
For the DRI, it's simply the size of the parcel that is being developed.
Right.
If it triggers a threshold, then everything kicks in.
I was just thinking, would the zoning in that area apply to those, of the 30
I
acres?
don't know
or
what
if
this-
they were 30 acres?
I think it's 1 acre on
I think it's 1 acre.
You think it's 1 acre?
1 acre.
Yeah.
So is
Yeah.
it correct to say the bottom line is that build out
Is,
we have to stay on top of it, but we don't
Yeah.
have to worry about 500 kilograms. per
I
liter.
think that number is smaller, yes. Right.
Substantially small.
Smaller than 500.
500.
Smaller than
I
500.
mean, way
Yeah.
smaller.
Yeah, and the 500,
I wouldn't make that
Oh.
statement yet.
I mean, if 500 were true, it would mean that the unbuildable property in this area has room for twice as much development
already
as
there.
currently
It's what's already
exists.
there.
This makes no sense.
Well,
Well, no, is the
No, no.
current, the current watershed, the
Oh, I
present.
see.
Oh,
The
that's
reduction
right.
target. Oh,
Yeah, that's
never mind.
right.
Yeah.
because
Okay.
266 is
Oh,
just,
yeah, what was
Just
it?
as you think, so the
is
target
what
is
we
900
have,
and-
what we have to remove.
988 is the total amount of
Oh.
kilograms.
There we go.
Okay, so it'd be half. Half,
Right.
never mind, that's
Right.
better, that's better.
Yeah, but it's half.
But it's still
It's
way
still
more.
But it makes it that much scarier
Yeah.
if you were
much-
not on top.
It's still
Yeah.
extremely unlikely that,
Yeah,
That it would be half, maybe.
yeah, I mean, if your biggest piece is 35 houses, and the rest of them are little 1 lots and 2 lots,
Yeah.
kind of here and there. There's nothing else of any consequence.
The big one is the Wheeler property.
Yeah.
And then it's, and some of these, in fact, have been built on.
well, the second or third biggest one is, where is that? I can't, I'm at, the one way over on the west, but it's gotta be right next to Buzzards Bay.
That's the Morse property. And they put an IA system in.
Half of it seems to be in the ocean.
It's really hard to see where that
It's very hard to
is.
see where it is.
Let's see, where's that?
Oh, I
map?
see. Half of the property, the wastewater heads to the ocean as opposed to the.
Yes,
Right, yeah.
yes,
And the other half heads to a
Right.
place very close to the ocean.
right,
But in fact goes
But
into
goes
the
into the
upper
watershed.
part of the harbor,
outer,
the outer part.
Where's that?
The outer part.
Right,
Yeah.
right, which is
Yeah.
fine. Okay. Okay.
okay.
So that's,
Well, the land use piece, is like, as we found in North Falmouth, these numbers really are sketchy and challengeable.
they're very conservative. And I would say not accurate,
No.
not practical, it's not practical build, it's a theoretical build out. I
Right.
think that's a good way to maybe think about it. The MEP reports are taking us to the maximum theoretical
So
build
it's
out,
still on land.
and what we
Yeah,
wanna
it
do
goes
is have
that
a
way.
practical
Hard to
build
see
out.
that.
We wanna think
Yeah,
practically with the build
I think they went to the zoning code and said, well, it's 1 acre zoning, it's 35 acres, so there must be 35 house lots.
Right.
And disregarding all the other rules that are gonna
That's right.
impact this.
Okay, so Quistit.
Okay.
This is where I exit.
Okay, well,
Are we having a discussion now as to whether these are the appropriate next steps?
oh, and Quistit? Yes. Yeah, no, we're open to,
I mean, you can never object to a neighborhood meeting, it's like motherhood and apple pie.
right, but I think we've agreed that when the weather gets better and the people come back from
Right.
where they are in the
But-
winter,
and I'm not-
we'll do this in all these watersheds.
Right, and we should.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, before we do it, we should have as much pinned down about those laws that we were just talking about.
That's what we're doing.
That,
And the
That's the follow-up.
possibility,
Yeah.
even for these little lots up here that actually matter,
Mhm.
if and when there are any requirements for new building for IAs.
Well,
Because
there aren't now, for those lots.
But people, I mean, I've gotten this from Oyster Pond feedback. People are saying, hey, I'm building now, what do I do? I mean, that comes down to Harry homeowners' real immediate interest and pocketbook.
Yeah.
And the sooner that can be pinned down for any given watershed, I mean, it's particularly complicated for Oyster Pond, for reasons we won't get into here, but for these, where there's no possibility, reasonable possibility of sewering or need for it, it seems to me it's in the town's interest and the homeowner's interest to have that pinned down as soon as possible. I mean, you have to wait and find out about the oysters, but
but
I think it's true, and if I'm wrong, I'd like to be corrected.
Sure.
I heard John say this afternoon, from his perspective, as the on the
Board of Health.
on the Board of Health,
Yeah.
that it might be a very good idea to put in an ordinance that the town says that if you sell a property, that the new owner must upgrade to an IA system or a tidal, whatever it happens to be. And you can do the same thing with new properties, that they simply, if you build a new property or if you sold a property, that was the requirement throughout all of the areas which need to be reduced. And over the years, that would,
which is most areas.
which in most areas.
Right.
He was just
That's
suggesting
that's a
that.
little different than
Yes,
what
But it's
Steve
partly
just
where I
said.
got the idea from.
I
I
see.
heard John saying that too.
Okay.
And you could, it's more of a fine point whether it's sale of the property or building a new house or both. But the reason towns collect taxes when you sell properties is because there's a lot of money changing hands, and so no one notices if you take out 5%.
And they'll notice
Yeah.
that you have to put an IA in.
Right, but
Right.
building a new house
Yeah.
is a similar big bucks transaction as selling the property.
Yeah.
And you're doing the landscaping anyway and so on, so it's not an unreasonable time to do this work.
That's when you have to upgrade to Title V anyway, if you don't have.
Right,
Yeah.
and the point is Title V is 26 milligrams per liter, whereas an IA is 12 milligrams per liter. So
Presumably.
I was going to answer your question by saying anybody that said, you know, what should I do? At the very least, it would be put in an IA system that gets 12 milligrams per liter.
If you want to
Or
spend
a
that kind
composting
of money.
toilet.
If,
Be a good
Yeah, or a
citizen.
composting
Yeah.
toilet, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
whatever, yeah.
Already put it?
We've agreed to
I'm
call
sorry, yes,
composting
or
toilets IA systems.
Oh, we did?
That has become
That's what you get for leaving.
that's what's become sort of
Sounds
standard.
a little stealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
It's actually a good thing, because it makes them more, it's a part of the standard
Yeah.
toolbox of
Right.
Right,
on-site
yeah.
denitrifying systems.
I mean, let's not talk about how easy it is to mandate people to put in
Oh,
IA
it's-
systems.
No.
I mean, right now, this
No.
Title V, which people thought was real onerous when it went in, I would bet 95% of the houses that change hands, they hire a guy who goes out and he says, yeah, what you have in the ground complies with Title V, and they don't have to do anything. You know, some people do because they're in low water area or they've got a barrel with holes in it for a septic system. But people with cesspools can pass Title V, a lot of people pass Title V, and the only expense is the guy who goes out and tells them it's okay. What you're all suggesting is that we add to that a $25,000 bill to put in a system that requires frequent maintenance, lots of
Yeah.
intervention, lots of cost. That is not an easy sell.
I hear you.
This comes to what I was talking about last time, that if we require this of everybody,
Mhm.
either by a bylaw that says within the next 10 years, everybody has to upgrade or something like that, or when you sell it, you have to
Mhm.
upgrade. Anytime you do that, you're placing the entire onus of everything on the
Right.
homeowner. You're
Right.
not getting anything from the town,
Right.
any help from the town. On the other hand, if you put a sewer in, you're going to get help from the town.
We get that.
So it seems to me that we ought to be discovering ways in which we could sweeten the deal if we want to make people willing to do these kinds
Well,
of things.
Well,
And
it's
it-
going to be really interesting in West
West
Falmouth
Falmouth.
to
West
see
Falmouth,
if that's
yes,
exactly
exactly,
what
yes.
that project
Right,
is.
Right, we
Uh-huh.
give them a $10,000 bonus.
Yeah.
Well, we tried it with Ecotoids, we're trying it in West Falmouth
Yeah.
Yeah.
with any IA
Anything
system,
to do.
for a certain universe of people, and we'll see what happens.
But we haven't made people do it yet. I mean, if we had required it with the eco-toilets and made them do something,
Yeah.
either that or something else,
Yes.
maybe.
But
It's
when
so
you have
good.
to remember, making you do something means it has to go through town meeting.
Yes, yes, of
Town
course,
meeting
yes.
is not dumb.
They're not going to make people do that.
They're not going to do
Wow,
that.
I would-
If they are faced with the question of, well, we've got to either sewer this or do something else, they
Well,
might be willing to
then-
make
Well,
them do
then-
that.
I
don't
mean, that's
count
why
on
the questions of making the betterments available to people who want to do
Yeah.
IA systems
Yeah.
is really so important, because there's no way you can
Well, to be fair,
compare.
we did that in this area. We said, anybody who wants to put your IA system in it, we will waive the betterment. Here's an $18,000 gift. Nobody did it. 2 people did it. You know, there's not,
Oh,
how
it
much
wasn't
more?
an 18th. Okay. But the financing
was the
over
gift.
30 years is, how can you beat that?
I understand
0%
what-
financing.
Yeah, but you're missing what we just pointed out here, which is they were given the $18,000 gift and didn't take it.
It wasn't really
It's
an
not
$18,000
cash
gift.
gift.
And yeah.
It's
There
not
was also-
that they could put towards the new system.
It was also for an eco toilet, it wasn't for
True.
an advanced denitrifying septic system, which
True.
doesn't go in your house.
Yeah.
It doesn't change your
And that may
lifestyle.
turn out to be
Right.
a key point that we're working for.
Okay, well,
All right.
it's on the list, IAs and eco toilets.
Yeah.
What else do we want to have followed up on Quissit before the next
The
time?
two land use,
The land use, clearly, huge.
Right.
Uh,
You're talking about the land use controls.
Right.
yeah, land use.
Okay.
And I think the first thing to follow up on is just to see what the shellfish do, in terms of a
Mhm.
adaptive management approach.
Mhm.
I think the low hanging fruit is looking at shellfish
Yeah,
and see how they pan out over maybe the next couple of years, because we'll continue to do relays, hopefully, into Quissit next summer.
and check with McGrath and the neighbors about the
And I'll check
stormwater.
with McGrath
Just-
about the stormwater.
Going back to the land use controls, could you get the actual text and the citation?
Yes.
Okay, and so that becomes an email that goes out with the agenda or something?
I was gonna put it in fact sheets.
Okay,
I think that might be a nice
fine,
kind
Mhm.
of
Okay.
place to have everything in one place. for-
okay.
But what, I don't know if this is beyond the scope of this, but I agree, from the standpoint of these figures, oysters look like a no-brainer, the way to go.
Mm.
But whenever people bring up oysters, I also hear some people mention to say that DEP will never give us credit for it. Is that just something we have to wait for?
That's a good point.
Well, I approach it this way. whether they do or whether they don't. The proof is, what is the measurement at the Sentinel station?
Right.
And if we pass the test at the Sentinel station, I don't care whether they give us credit or not. We've done what we were required to do, and we got there by whatever combination of
Right.
stormwater and so on and so forth. So some people say that, and I think there's sort of a subtext to it, which is, you know, we don't believe this will really work. But it clearly is a positive, and it generates food and commerce and so on
And
and
if
so
the
forth.
eelgrass comes back.
And that's right, exactly.
That's all the word out
So
there, right?
that's the real proof.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, 2 years ago, DEP made it quite clear and everybody understood that the Falmouth plan was going nowhere.
Yeah.
That this would never be acceptable, that unless we had a plan that sewered everything from
Yeah.
Quoit to Falmouth Harbor
Yeah.
and told us how soon we were gonna do it, they would never accept such a thing. They would never expect 5 years of alternative studies. They've accepted all this stuff, so their DEP can learn too.
Okay.
That's true.
And I think it's really important to point out that the Mashpee CWMP is highly oyster-centric, and they have a MEPA certificate.
Mhm.
Oh, good.
They
They-
got, they did a
For
test
this-
For the draft.
For the draft.
For the draft, yeah.
For the
with a
draft.
bunch of questions,
Yeah.
but the draft did not say, one of the comments was, we'll never give you credit for shellfish. They didn't
They
say
didn't
that.
say that.
They did not say that. They said they're accepting shellfish as a cornerstone of Mashpee CWMP.
Cool.
Right. Okay.
So
Anything can happen.
times they are changing.
Right,
Yeah.
they are. Thank you, Sia.
Yes. For the next item, I think Sia will have to take a break. It's technical consultant for 2015, discussion on proposed tasks and hours. And since you're a potential candidate for that sort of thing,
Turn this on.
which puts an additional burden on our minute taker there to make sure that whatever comes out of this conversation is is recorded, at least,
Oh, okay.
so that when we come back to making up our own lists of tasks, that we remember all the things we brought up.
Right.
Um,
Can I pass
Yes,
this out?
Virginia has a handout, which is the current job description for the technical assistant position.
Right.
The reason we're doing this now is that the contract ends at the end of January. And we want to put out an RFP for the remainder of 2015. And the first step in that is to define the tasks that we see coming ahead for the committee and for the technical assistant in the year 2015. So what you have in front of you is the tasks that were in the current contract, and, but we may have more, we may have some changes.
Right, I figured this was simply just a starting point, and that we could just look at what of these continue and which of these don't.
Sure.
And it was just so you would have something in front of you.
I have an immediate question. It says
Yes.
contract period is from November 1 to 2014 to February
February.
1, 2015,
Yeah.
unless
Correct.
otherwise negotiated. Does that mean that we could, at this point, negotiate a longer period without having an RFP?
Well, it's actually the other way around. If you have a contract that is more than 25,000, it has to go out to an RFP.
I see.
And we've been doing it in these small pieces, and it's really a lot of effort, and not. So we just decided, all right, let's just figure it for the rest of 2015, which then clearly goes over the 25,000 trigger.
Okay.
So it has to be. So we can't negotiate it.
Okay.
That's the answer to that.
Okay.
So you want to go through these one by one and see if they're all still relevant? And
Sure.
Keep adding on?
Okay. Are
And
you,
go- no,
are
go
you
ahead.
doing this?
No, you go ahead.
Oh, okay. So estimated cost obviously goes out the window until we decide
Right.
everything else. Just for discussion, she's been working 25 hours a week, although for reasons not quite clear to me, during August and September and October, she only worked 20 hours a week. And prior to that, she worked 25 hours a week. So we need to really look at what the workload will be, and then back into how many hours per week we really want.
Right.
Can I make a
Keeping in
comment?
mind that 5 hours a week are going to go to this West Falmouth project, which is funded separately. With the state,
okay.
the
Yeah.
state and the federal money that's involved in that.
I thought from what something that Sia said at one point that she had worked a great deal more than 25 hours a week on our project during the first months, and they adjusted that so that she would be a little bit less. That's what I thought was happening, but I don't know.
She never got paid for more than
No,
25
no.
hours.
never got
I
paid
think
for
that's the answer, yeah.
She worked more, but for free.
Yeah, and during August, September, and October, superintendent and town hall determined that it was 20 hours a week, so,
Okay,
for whatever reason.
okay.
Clearly, the meetings would continue, they're usually 2 a month.
Do we want to say not to exceed?
Well, those weren't my words, they were
Okay.
wastewater superintendent's words, I wouldn't say
Yeah,
that.
let's take them out.
Okay, right. So it's estimated, usually 2 per month. Agendas, reports, and meeting follow-up, you've had an example of, that
We need it.
tonight. The website, she has definitely kept it up and posts things there as the reports become available, and it becomes a source of information. The technical questions from the public, I think is a minimal, it's on the list, but that's really minimal time. We can discuss whether we want her to continue to look for grant opportunities. We already have several grants going, which makes it a little bit complicated.
I think it's really important that we do that, because
Mhm.
frankly, anything else that comes our way, if we're gonna do a PRB, we're gonna write it up and find a site, and someone else is gonna help pay for it.
Okay.
And that would be true for almost any major piece that we
Well,
get.
it's basically a return on investment thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sia is, or whoever we appointed this, is responsible enough
Yeah.
to not spend more of their time on it than the grant would bring in.
Right.
And if they spend less of their time on it than the grant brings in, it's a no-brainer.
Mhm.
Okay, good. So the answer is we keep that bullet in. The weekly reporting on activities and so on, that's sort of an internal management thing with the wastewater superintendent. And so is the last bullet. So that they don't directly impact our committee. So those were sort of general tasks. Then, as currently written, the remaining tasks were broken out into the eco-toilet efforts, which we're going to talk about now, and then all the other things. So a lot of this is nearing completion. She's going to be writing up a report, as my understanding. That's one of her last tasks under the existing contract. So that report's going to get written in
Before February.
December and January, and before the end of January, that report will be.
That won't be the final report on it because it will only be be a technical report for what's been done so far.
So
Sure,
far,
sure.
okay.
It will not cover more than about 5 or 6 toilets for which they have enough information.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, and
Oh, is that all?
it won't be the final
Well,
one for
It won't
them.
be a dozen or so?
Well, there may be a dozen or more in and operational by that time, but there won't be very much data on them.
I see.
You're right.
Can I
I
ask
see.
you a question?
Yeah.
There's no obvious black and white thing here. It's all a matter of quantity. Is it the nature of the contract that you can set it for the previous number of hours per week, and if, obviously you can't go over that,
She
but
does.
that you can go under it if the work isn't there?
I think, this is just my answer, I think you could go under it, but I don't think that would ever happen, frankly.
Well, then you've already made the decision, by definition.
You're talking about the number of hours per week?
Right.
That's my sense, that whatever the number of hours are that we decide on, that number of hours will be used one way or another, because there's just so many things going on.
And you're probably right, and I'm just saying, put the icing on the cake. If you know you can go under it, what do you have to lose?
Performance to date would indicate that going under just never happened. The workload is too big.
With her contract or any other, I mean, we've had half a dozen consultants, and not one of them has come in under what they originally estimated.
That's right.
In fact, several thought they had done more and wanted more and didn't get it. But under has not been a problem.
Well, then you've also already decided by definition.
Well, we
And
haven't,
again, I probably agree with you.
picked the hours yet, so let's,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
we're looking at the task.
Right.
The last one is off the table now, isn't it? It's just implementation of the utility betterment exemption? And
Yes,
that's-
that is off the table, that's correct.
There's only two of them that can be sort of folded into the rest. you know.
Right. Data analysis as needed, yes. Okay. We'll just mention parenthetically what Eric alluded to, that there is 5 hours a week that's she's definitely going to be working for Falmouth, but it's totally covered by the grant.
I see.
So that's not in this list.
Is that in addition to the 25 hours a week that she's, or?
We haven't decided,
I see.
but just pure logic would indicate that we probably would not want a number more than 20, I don't think.
Yeah, Sia is working for Orleans as well and has that.
She
so
has-
that she has to.
she
She'll
has
have something
other-
to say about that too.
Yes.
won't she?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, it's gonna be the third year of the aquaculture demonstration project.
right. So we're moving on to the last category. The oyster reef, actually that's still,
Mhm.
the viability study in 2014 actually didn't get off the ground, I believe. That's right, because we could not get the right kind of seed.
Yep.
Okay, so we're still at square one, or behind square one there, so it would have to be in 2015. I think it should stay on the list. Right,
Fertilizer?
is oyster, fertilizer,
Yeah, well, yes, that,
That's-
last year it involved preparing and sending out a letter to everyone who was on the waterfront on any of these south-facing
Yeah, but
estuaries.
I'm saying going forward.
But we might want to do it on the west side too, because we're
Yeah.
talking about all these guys.
yeah,
And there's more to be done on that if you want to do it. you know,
Right.
public
Yeah,
education, you know.
there's more to be done on that.
right.
You have to keep at that one.
Yes.
Put it out, keep on,
Every year.
Yeah.
yeah, all the time.
And then the last bullet, I really think the other alternative technologies, there is definitely a lot of stuff percolating about PRBs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, PRBs are not mentioned here specifically, but that's definitely,
Well, it covers you
Candidate.
for anything.
that's correct, right. Right. Now, Oyster Pond itself, the CWMP for Oyster Pond, is she involved in that?
No.
No, okay. So that's
I mean,
not,
she has been helpful on it,
but she's,
but we've already contracted with Wright Pierce to write it. And
Okay.
They're on hold.
okay. All right. The other bullet, and I'm not exactly sure where it would go and whether we need to highlight it, is our current plan to review all of the other MEP reports for all of the other watersheds and then hold a subsequent public meeting within the watershed. And I think it would be good to articulate
Mhm.
that, whether it's under general tasks or,
Mhm.
I think it probably should be up there rather than
Mhm.
other alternative technologies.
Meetings.
And that's really sort of our major thrust for this 2015 is to, since we're being comprehensive, we're going to look at all of the watersheds.
And we need her help, the help of, help to put that together.
Just as you
as a-
saw
as a-
tonight, yeah.
Right, exactly.
Right,
That's right.
Do we want to throw something in there about the road runoff?
okay.
I mean, I think she's actually, in the past, has been doing that in a small way, going to the town engineer, getting a sense of where the major collection systems are and where they go, but I mean, that should be probably articulated somewhere.
Okay. Where do you want, it would have to go up under general tasks.
Yeah.
Doesn't fit the other categories. All right, I'm sticking road runoff, grants, projects.
Just, just for your information, we're gonna resurrect Citizens for the Protection of Wacoit Bay.
Good.
And one of the projects we're gonna do is just identifying all the road runoff areas. Which surprisingly hasn't been done. And it just seems like a very obvious thing to do.
All right.
Is that meeting on Monday night, is that going to be?
Yeah,
Who's
Am I
who's
invited to
spearheading
that meeting?
me.
Oh.
Am I invited to come to that meeting?
Yeah, I thought you were,
Now, Janie said you were going to tell me.
I
whether was
I
invited.
tried to email you, but it wouldn't go for some reason.
Weird.
I don't know whether it's me or.
Probably have my name spelled wrong.
Have you changed your email now?
No, it's the same.
It did, okay.
Because
It's
I
fixed.
sent you something and it bounced back.
Yeah, I had some kind of bad thing in my computer.
How do you spell my name?
I don't know.
That's true. If you spell it the other way, it bounces back.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, that happened to me.
Yeah. Wouldn't even let me send it back until I got rid of that.
Okay, so I've added 2 more bullets under general tasks. We've taken off 1 bullet under eco tasks, and with minor word changes, we've left the other alternative technology bullets the same.
I'm not sure, go back briefly to eco toilet task. She's been working a great deal over the past 2 years, talking with people, manufacturers of toilets, people in Europe and so forth, about technological changes. It might be worthwhile mentioning that that's one of the tasks that she should continue with.
Okay, like product development,
Product development,
technological
technological development of eco
Okay.
toilet. Because that's crucial to the program if it's going to be a success.
Okay, I agree with you. That's good. Okay.
Now, weren't we also, and maybe we should meet again, but we were talking about another phase of the eco toilet program. Once we determined, we got the results in for this one, and
I'm glad you bring that up.
talked about marketing it or
Right.
you know, trying to
Would that come under
expand the sample.
continued implementation of Eco-Toilet Incentive Program Demonstration Project?
Yeah, so far as her is concerned,
Right.
we need to talk about
Right.
that.
But as far as her task,
Yeah.
it's
I'm
covered.
glad you brought it up because we do
Covered.
need to get back to
Right.
talking about that again.
Which reminds me, some of the things that we haven't had on our list in the past, like floating islands, for example.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, right, so you go away, you
Really?
miss the floating islands. Floating islands.
Now it's
Can
in
we
the
rent them
208
out?
plan.
All right, and Jerry had one today,
Oh,
seaweed.
Seaweed harvesting by a
these
local guy in Wacoit Bay.
These
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
things probably ought to be, maybe not by name, but at least the option of additional alternatives being part
Well,
of
that's the
Okay,
last
well,
bullet.
that is the last bullet.
Okay.
Okay, but. okay.
Scott Lindell has been doing a couple of things.
Yeah,
That
he's-
seaweed
right,
thing
he's-
he's been
he's
doing.
the
He's been
one
doing some other things as
Right,
well.
floating islands.
There's something else that I've seen come up a couple of times in both the literature and elsewhere. People are developing all the time new ways of taking water which you need to clean locally in your backyard or something like that, and developing systems which can easily be installed in your backyard to take 50% of the nitrogen of whatever's in the water out through swales, through various things that can be, they're patented things and they're things you can do and they cost, they're not very expensive.
Your own private rain garden, is that?
The own private, yes.
Like what Scott Horsley,
That's
he
right.
was
Well,
talking
you
about.
can only use that for gray water. You can't. use
That's
that
right,
for-
it is
That's
for
true.
grey water, but
A
we're
lot
going to
of-
have,
When you're starting with very high concentrations of bad things,
Yeah.
nitrogen
Yeah,
or
and-
whatever, you can get it down.
you can get it down
The
quite
problem is when you already have a pretty low.
even if you have a pretty low concentration, you can cut it in half, and if that makes the difference between success and failure.
Sometimes they're limited.
They're not terribly expensive, apparently. I don't know, at least the new ideas are not
Not
as
all of them
expensive.
are approved. I think you need a special.
You need special permits, that's the main, but that's something new coming down the pike that I see as a possibility,
Yeah, for gray water. We were talking about that in Westport.
yeah.
Any other ideas? This is a draft, this is not something we're voting on, but because the current contract runs out the end of January, we have to go
Well,
through.
the real question is how many hours per week?
That's true.
Nothing else matters because of this last bullet,
Okay,
right?
You're right.
Obviously,
gives you
the bullets
wide-
really don't matter. See if,
Yes.
or whoever is going to be sufficiently agreeable
Yep.
that they'll do any reasonable thing that we ask them to, including new things that we're not thinking of. So the only real question is how many hours per week?
How many months, how long does she have until she doesn't get paid any longer from that 5 hours from
the 5 hours runs to 2016, I believe it's June.
all the way through to?
Right, so it's
Right.
like a year and a half.
Oh, okay, so that's a long
Right.
time.
What we thought in terms of planning, that if we just bid off a year, and she's going to take 2 weeks of vacation in July. So we're actually talking about 46 weeks in 2015. That's
Taking-
because she's
okay.
already
46
covered.
half weeks.
46.
46
at
weeks.
25 hours a week.
Well, maybe not
20.
25,
At
because
least.
5's already spoken for.
Right.
So
So
it
the
wouldn't
question
be,
is
it
whether
wouldn't be
it's-
more than 20.
Right, no more than 20, or 15. You can make it 15. Whatever.
Okay.
Okay. And so we're talking about either 20 times 46 or 25 times 46.
20.
20, no
20,
more than
okay,
20.
No more than 20.
So that's 90 something, right?
92. 920 hours.
Right.
Okay, so it's about
The
65,000.
the current rate of pay
Is there a
is
budget
75.
limitation?
But the current bid is $75.
$75 an hour.
What
Right.
the town set originally.
So 20 times 46 times 75 is the town rate. That gives you $69,000.
Yeah, $69,000.
Well, obviously, we're getting wonderful services and we need this to keep going. The only question is, I feel obliged to ask as a member of this, as a board, are we being spendthrifts? I mean, how many, are we going to be doing this, maybe not us, but is Falmouth going to be doing this for 10 years without rejuvenation of money from town meeting? Are we going to run out of money?
Yes, we will.
Eventually.
Yeah.
And maybe that's okay because you figure we can be rejuvenated by town meeting.
It could.
We certainly
If
can.
we need it.
A lot of these tasks, if they come in with, if some grant money or the Cape Cod Commission or the Cape Cod Collaborative wants to help pay for them, that will extend the money further than.
We'll need more money altogether in the end, no matter what.
Speaking of, what happened to the grant from the state for the Cape Cod Commission that was supposed to come back to the towns, I thought?
We lost one.
The $3.5 million that they spent on the 208 plan, that didn't come here.
No, I thought there was more funding in the environmental bond bill.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
we-
yeah.
Oh.
We lost
yeah,
something on that.
The
yeah.
bond bill, as you recall, is a wish list that
Yeah.
none of which has actually been consummated.
Uh-huh.
But everybody got reelected. Almost.
None of that has arrived at our doorstep.
No. No.
Or anybody's doorstep, for
No.
that matter.
Do we have to
Is it
apply
in
for
the
that?
form of grant RFPs that you have to write, or?
You have to, well, as you recall, you have to go up there and badger the authorities who are in charge of a particular
You sit
pot
in
of
your
money
legislator's
to
office
release
and,
it to you
Yeah.
for your purpose in your town. But
Maybe-
it's not something we can count on.
Is that something that SIA does, or is that something that somebody else from the town, like David Vieira goes up there and?
Yeah, David can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something
Yeah.
that's.
David can do it.
Well, right. Well, I think that Steve has raised a good point, and that is, how long do we want our dollars within Article 17 to spread out? Or a different way of saying is, how long does this committee want to have fairly active technical support? And what's the time frame we want to think about?
Why don't we come back, give us a little time to go check on the status of all the money. What's committed, what's been spent, what's available, and what's likely to be the timeframe. And come back.
I don't have a feel for
come
the
back.
answers
No,
to that.
I
I'm not for or against it. I'm just saying
I know
it's
you
the
don't.
only rational way to think about it.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
right. If this gobbles up half of our money, it's a bad idea. If it gobbles up 10%, it's a good idea. But
Yeah.
you'd like to know.
Yeah.
It's a fair question. So
Yeah.
let's come back with a real number for you.
I have an immediate answer to the question of how long we should plan ahead.
Okay,
And that is they've given us until December 2019, I think,
yes,
to create a new plan.
yes.
And I think we should plan within that framework.
That's a good point.
That is a very
You know?
good framework. Yeah,
That's a
that
good
we
point.
should,
December 19th.
So when the time for the new plan arrives, we will have no money to do it.
that's right. Yeah.
That's not what he said.
That's not what I'm saying. If we continue to work the way we have,
Right.
we'll have a new plan.
Right.
And people will be very happy with us that we have a new plan.
Right, okay,
fine.
all
So-
right,
And we need help to do
good,
that.
all right, so that's 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, so that's 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
Okay. Very good.
And we would need more money from the town, and then voted from the town to do that, probably.
If the plan has to look like the CWMP that we went through the draft and then the final on, absolutely, we're going to need more money from the town.
Even if it
If it
doesn't.
turns out that we have found a better way of doing it, or a more concise way of doing it, then we would not need so much. And I honestly think if our committee could accomplish that,
Yeah.
we should all
Yeah.
get gold stars.
I have to say, that is the key element to all this, because this town has spent $2 million on studies that got us nowhere. I mean,
Since
realistically.
2000.
Before we-
Since
Spend
2000.
another
Since-
700 million.
Since 2001, right. And the idea of being, and that's one of the reasons we're kind of going estuary by estuary, the idea of coming up with a paradigm that produces a doable plan that doesn't require this much paper to explain to somebody
Right.
is a good idea. And if we could kind of mass produce, do these things in a sort of a mass production, small volume, large impact way, like I say, we would be doing this ourselves and the Commonwealth
Yes.
a great favor.
We
Right.
should hire ourselves out to other towns.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the kind of thing I think probably should be on the list, if we can phrase it in some fashion.
Okay.
It would
Develop a
serve-
paradigm.
Yeah.
Turning the Water Quality Management Committee into a profit center.
Well,
There you go.
that's what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be saving them money,
No.
enough money to.
But Matt's suggesting actual revenue coming.
Oh,
I wasn't
Well,
talking
he's
about
kidding.
profit center for
We'll
the
rent
town.
ourselves out.
Yeah,
We're consultants now.
you'll have to hire somebody else, I'm afraid,
Okay.
not me.
I will,
Yeah.
I've added a bullet and we'll
Yeah.
elaborate on
Yeah.
it. All right. Great.
good.
Nice discussion.
Yeah. Anything else on that one? If not, we'll move along to report of members and staff.
Oh, yeah, see you back.
Oh, yeah. Report of members and staff. Anybody want to report on our boat trip?
I think you already did.
I think we did, all right.
Anything else?
Anything else?
You wanted to bring up about not
Can
having a
you
meeting
turn the light on?
on the 18th.
Oh, yes,
Not
this-
having a meeting on the 18th.
the schedule for the next,
Ah,
next variety of weeks here. The 18th would be the next scheduled meeting.
Yes.
Then would be the first, which clearly is not going to be a meeting, of January, which moves you up to the 15th of January. If we skip the 18th, we don't come together for a month and a half.
The first, is it?
I would-
Oh, yeah, okay. One month.
There's a couple of things that are out there. One is a meeting with Mashpee.
Yeah.
It's out there, but hasn't been scheduled, but would be in the next couple of months. What was the other one?
What about,
It's
depending
gonna-
on the meeting tomorrow, on Warren's Pond, do you need a
Yes.
subsequent meeting
Yes,
of the whole
That-
committee
that's the other one.
before some deadline
that
of
is the other
design
one.
or something?
There's no particular deadline,
No
but
deadline.
there will be a public iteration of whatever the subgroup here is coming up with regarding Bourne's Pond. So yeah, that would be another one that would require a,
Meeting tomorrow, Board Spawn?
There,
Which one?
the working
No.
group.
there's a working group on
Okay.
a technical memorandum that's been generated, and we're gonna go
Is that-
through the technical.
Is that for the
pieces.
widening, the engine?
Right,
the
Yes,
widening?
the
Oh,
engine
okay.
widening.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are the two things that I know of that are sort of on the horizon besides our usual stuff.
On the 11th is that regional policy plan update hearing. Is that something that one of us should go to, or Cape Cod Commission regional policy plan update? I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna, it's gonna be on everything under the sun.
That's more planning, zoning.
Yeah, I don't know very much about
They
it.
said something about wastewater. I just wondered whether they,
So when is the public meeting on the inlet widening?
We don't have it yet.
We don't have.
But, I mean, is it in
you-
the summer or is it in
No, no, no.
January?
It's probably January.
January, yeah.
And do you need to have a water quality meeting before that?
No, I think we would invite the public to the water quality meeting and discuss it
So, okay, so it's-
with them then.
it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
good,
In the third week of January, given the Christmas holiday, doesn't seem like an unreasonable time to have that meeting.
It's a little confusing about when you say the third week of January.
15th.
You mean the 15th?
Yeah.
Ah,
This.
okay, it's the third
Third
Thursday.
Thursday in January.
Okay, seems like a reasonable date.
Seems like it.
If we were, well, we'll be
Okay.
ready for that one probably then, I would expect.
That's, I would
That's,
hope.
that's
Right.
5 or 6 weeks, yes.
Right.
Okay.
Well, you don't wanna
Christmas
try
and
the
New Year.
8th of January?
Well, we can't meet here on those days because the
So you meet somewhere else?
CPC, well, and
you said something about meeting with Mashpee. Where is that?
well, we haven't got a where yet, we haven't got a date yet, but
Yeah.
it'll probably be in Mashpee or at Webner or something like that, rather than here.
So we could do that on another,
That's true, well, except they meet on the first and third Thursday.
they do? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So,
if we want to meet with their sewer group, which is their group. So they would do it another day, actually. if we
Well-
wanted to.
yeah. I have a personal conflict on the 18th, so I was strongly thinking of not attending. But if Mashpee were having its meeting on the 18th and some members of this committee wanted to attend,
Mhm.
I'd throw that out.
I'd be happy to wait till we know more about what we're going to talk about with Mashpee, rather than just
Fair enough.
go to a meeting to
And
be
wander
nice guys.
Okay,
Because they have an agenda. I
Yes,
think,
that's true.
They've got their own agenda, yeah.
yes, okay. All right,
Well, I'm not hearing any enthusiasm or compelling reason to meet on the 18th of December.
I have a different question, but sort of related to a next meeting. What's our next watershed after Quistit?
Oh, fair enough.
We were given West Falmouth. Do we
Oh,
need to
West
do
Falmouth.
West Falmouth?
That's right, okay, it would be West Falmouth then.
Okay, do we need to do West Falmouth, given the amount of attention West Falmouth has gotten?
I would say, having done a preliminary review of that West Falmouth MEP report, it is very outdated in the sense that it looks and it talks about 80-something% of the load being from the wastewater treatment facility.
Oh,
And it was all pre-settlement agreement,
Okay.
3 milligrams per liter discharge. So
Oh,
I think it would be worth looking at the MEP report to understand
how far we've come.
well, that it needs to be updated
Right.
and where these updates need to happen. So that, my
that's true.
presentation, as I was thinking about it,
That's true, and we may find some of the things we found in these other watersheds regarding the development potential and stuff where their numbers could be wrong.
and their poll projections had to do with sewering.
Yeah.
I mean, this is we
That's
have
true.
just gone through the most recent MEP reports that have come out.
Mhm.
Wilds, Fiddlers, Rants, and Quistit.
Hmm.
Those were 2012, 2013
Okay.
The West Falmouth MEP was 2004.
Oh, gee.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Oh, so it's not a new thing, okay.
No, 10
All
years
right.
old, so let's do it.
All right.
Okay.
So we
so
should.
let's not do it.
No, let's not do it?
Oh,
Because
I was gonna
she was
say
saying do
let's,
it.
I'm saying, and the reason I'm saying to do it is it's still the basis of the TMDL.
Okay,
So that document, while it is absolutely dated, is the basis of the TMDL.
Right.
It's the regulatory
I see.
report.
And there are some outdated
And-
assumptions
and-
which we could
which
ferret
we
out.
could,
And I
okay.
think it would be valuable, at least for us to have a chance to go through.
Yep.
That was then, this is now, how does the settlement agreement interface with that document? And how has, where are we in terms of
Sure.
regulatory history? Which is gonna take a little bit more time than 2 weeks to unravel. So it might be better
Okay.
to give some extra time.
Mhm.
Because
Okay.
these are dialogues with DPW and
Alright.
just doing the research to make that a meaningful presentation.
Okay,
But I do think it's worth doing.
Yeah.
I just been giving you a little bit of
yeah.
the trailer for it, which is,
No, I agree with you, because even by their 10-year-old standards, it's this close to being in compliance. And if you could find any one of a number of factors where they guessed wrong or
Yeah.
projected wrong or did something different than what reality has produced, we might gain a lot.
Gain. Yeah,
Mhm.
so I
good.
think it bears some study.
Yeah,
But by saying that, you're also saying that it's unlikely that we'll have to do anything, except on paper.
Well, we still haven't passed the TMDL at the Sentinel Station, so
And
as long as we haven't cleared that hurdle, yes, there's always something.
And
coming
we
up.
still
But isn't that a matter of this stuff,
and we
the
still,
old stuff from the
That's what we keep
wastewater
saying.
and we still have a
running out?
settlement agreement
We-
which talks about the
Yeah.
quantity coming out of the wastewater treatment plant, which
Right.
we don't even know yet because the measurement mechanism is
It's
only now
under-
getting into place.
Underway.
So yeah, there's other pieces here.
Is there some program for, I'm getting kind of far afield, but for monitoring that in the ground as it goes along?
Yes, it's the existing monitoring network. But it's the water quality data that's where everybody will hang their hat. It is,
Right, that's the bottom line, but
That's the
it's
bottom
still, if you could say, oh, look, there's the boundary.
yes, I haven't,
Wrong.
right.
That's
haven't
exactly
heard
what people
that.
are hoping to do.
So then my follow-on question was, if, clearly West Falmouth needs some attention. What's the next one after that? The harbor, Falmouth Inner
Or
Harbor?
get Salt Pond.
Or
Do we have one or
could
something?
Or we could go the other, I mean, if we were heading down and across, the
Yeah.
next one would be Salt Pond.
Salt Pond.
Because that's the next MEP report, and that's a very new one.
Right.
Well-
And then the one after that would be Falmouth Harbor.
Falmouth Harbor.
Okay,
And then we've already done Great Green and Bourne.
yes.
What about Woodward Day?
And then-
When are we going to actually get the final in Walkway Bay?
That is a good question.
Good question.
Because I've been waiting for them to say,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
We have the report, but we don't have the final.
That's right.
And the finals are usually very much like the
Right.
reports.
Yeah.
but-
This is just a hunch. With all the activity on the 208 and sort of shifting gears, I wouldn't be surprised if DEP just sort of said, let's just hold this right where it is until we get these other things in place.
Yeah, okay, could be. That would be disappointing because we can't.
It would,
We
right.
in Mashpee can't cooperate very well
But
until we have a final thing.
You remember early on, there was a move for us to not do anything more until the 208 was in play.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
That's,
Yeah.
that's why I think that there's more to this.
Okay,
That's interesting.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one.
Okay, so we have three things hanging. Mashpee, which will be later,
Mhm.
Bourne's Pond, probably on January 15th.
Right.
And then the West Falmouth MEP would be the next report that the committee would
We probably
review along with our
at the
paradigm
end of January.
at the end of January.
And when will we get a report on what's been happening in Little Pond? We should, yeah,
What's
just to report back
happening?
to us of an,
On the aquaculture?
no, what's, that, we were gonna get regular updates on what was,
The sewer stuff?
just how the sewer stuff is going forward.
Well,
and so
Jerry
forth.
can come to the next
Jerry
meeting.
can come in and give that to
tell
us.
us about it.
I'd like to hear
Right.
it, just
Yeah.
as we go along.
So we're saying the next meeting is January 15th?
That's
Oh,
what
yeah, we
we're
are.
saying.
Yeah,
But you're supposed to be reading in the meantime.
that's right. Lots of
January
homework.
15.
Right.
January 15, and are we gonna be on the 29th then?
Yes.
Yes.
So that was my next question.
Yeah.
So we can do 2 meetings
Yep.
in
Yeah.
January.
Right.
And then what about-
we'll schedule Mashpee for not one of those dates,
Okay,
but some other date that's convenient for Mashpee.
Okay, sure.
okay.
So sometime in January, but not a regular meeting date for us.
Okay.
All right, any other reports of members and staff?
Uh, uh,
And recording secretary?
Yes, yes. Being a staff member, I suppose I can report. I regret to inform you all that I didn't realize that tonight would be my last meeting, anticipating, the 18th, but as of January, I'm going to be moving down to Mississippi for a couple months before I hopefully start grad school in the fall. So, and maybe I'll come back for the summer, I'm not sure. It's hard to resist. But I just wanted to let you all know that it's been great, being with all of you, and it's been a great experience for me, and has helped me be able to tell people, about our town. So it's been great, and
Well, you've done a wonderful job.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we've been thrilled to have you. If you're going to Mississippi, you'll be back here next summer.
Yes, if possible, yes.
that's true. And as far as the replacement goes, I mean, I haven't asked my sister yet, but she's going to be returning from California come January. So, and she studied environmental science at UMass Amherst.
Wonderful.
She far exceeds my knowledge on any topic. She was the top student of her whole major, and she's done work with Oyster Pond and the. So I'll ask her. She may be interested, and
Great.
But other than that, I
That
can't
would be
remember
great.
what else. But
All right.
Anybody else want to say something on our final word here, at least? How about
We would have had a party.
well, yes, we would have brought a cake, but how about at least a round of applause?
Yeah, right.
And very good luck with whatever
Yes,
you're doing.
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping for grad school by the fall. So
Oh,
We'll help on that. We had minutes which just got to us yesterday and today. So maybe we haven't had enough time to look at them, and maybe we can review them at the next go-round. If people have comments, why don't you just funnel them straight to her, so that you could come out with a revised version based on the comments?
yes.
So that's what I left you.
Okay. Thank
Right.
you.
My
So
revision.
send
And I
us-
have handwritten notes that I can give you. Hopefully you can read them.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Wait.
at the risk of boring you with some of my mathematical stuff again, I have been trying to ask the question as best I could, exactly how do they get these figures to the wastewater nitrogen load for septic systems in the MEP? I've looked at all the MEP reports, at the part of it which does it, and most of it's just boilerplate. There's a very few things. I've put the information down, and what I've discovered is that they have a very specific method of calculating those figures, which is based upon measured water from the town plus that figure they have of 23.63 milligrams per liter, which they developed, and they multiply the amount of water in terms of liters by that, and they get the figure. That's what they say they do. I did this for each one of the reports, and I discovered that on all of them except one, I was within about 10%, and there were explanations that could be made for why I might not be any closer than that when I just took the number of houses, took the amount of water per house, they said, and multiplied that out. And I got within, and the only watershed I didn't get there was Little Pond, which is 30% out. And I want to know why.
I have no idea.
I have no idea. They say they have 1,143 parcels plus a number of big parcels.
1143?
1,143 parcels in the sewer service area that they counted. And not in the sewer service area, but in the watershed.
Yeah, there's a difference.
Yes.
There's
Oh,
a
there's-
difference.
right.
Okay, the sewer service area is larger than the Little
That's
Pond
right,
water.
yes, it is.
Okay.
It is larger, and I figured that out. But when you multiply the 1143 by the water use, and you add in the water use which they suggested for the 34 parcels which are commercial parcels, which have a lot more water use. When you multiply all that out, you get only 70% of the nitrogen, and in all the others, I got within 90% of the nitrogen. In one case, I got more, 113%, but I could explain that was the Wild Harbor where they had left out the where all I had to do was leave out those houses and rearrange them, and it came out right. But in other words, so something is fishy with the Little Pond figures that I can't figure out, and I would like to know why.
Well, I think you might want to take it up with Zia separately, because none of us are quite prepared to answer it tonight.
No, I just wonder whether people have gone through this.
It's a fair question, and
yeah, I'll show you my figures, and maybe you could take them to the.
Yeah.
Maybe you could ask the next time you have a chance to ask
We'll talk about it.
Ed Eisner. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Good. Any other reports of members and staff? I have one, which is on the 12th of this month, Friday the 12th. A whole crowd of graduate students who have been doing research in our area at NBL are doing 15-minute presentations of their work, at least two of which are of interest to us. A lot of them are about shellfish, they're about salt marsh restoration, they're about wastewater nitrogen, they're about a lot of things that we are all interested in, and it would be a great thing to go and...
Where are they?
Ken Foreman has been the director of this program.
Give the times.
It's at the
It's in the
NBL. It's on the 12th of
Which
this
is
month, Lilly
Friday.
Auditorium.
Oh. Okay.
Starts at 8:30 in the morning and goes on till 3:30 in the afternoon with rat-a-tat-tat 15-minute presentations.
That's tomorrow morning.
Is the list on the
The
web?
12th.
The 12th is tomorrow. No, a week from now. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
A week from now.
Eric,
Okay.
is the list on the web?
It
Where-
is. I'll pass this around if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so the part he hasn't said is that the 9:15 and 9:30 are the two students that did things that sort of relate to.
Yeah, those are the
Us.
two that Ken Foreman mentioned. I was looking at the list, and there's a
there's-
fair number of
there's some
others that
others?
relate to our
Okay.
stuff
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I'd like to go to that.
So we could spend the whole day.
We could. Actually, it sounds really
Oh,
interesting.
it is.
Oh, some of the kids are just
Yeah.
fantastic.
Right.
Nick Uline did this last year. Nick was the guy that did our oyster work with us. He was great.
I should have made more copies, but I'll email it around.
There we go.
Good.
Excellent.
So that's Ken Foreman at NBL.
Right.
Move adjourned.
Mosens, do we have a second? Second? Discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.